Welcome to the Daily AI News, brought to you by the Day After AI News channel.
Today is Thursday, February 12, 2026. And I have to be honest, looking at the stack of stories we have today, it feels like I'm reading a script for a sci-fi movie that's just running about 20 minutes too fast.
It definitely feels like the timeline is compressing, yeah.
We've got a lot to get through. On one hand, the stock market is absolutely trembling. They're calling it the AI scare trade.
Right.
Basically freaking out that AI is getting too good too quickly. But then you flip the page, and there's this fascinating study out of Harvard suggesting that despite all this labor-saving magic, we are actually working harder than ever.
It's a huge contradiction. I mean, the markets are betting on human obsolescence, while the actual humans in the workforce are drowning in what researchers are calling task expansion.
So that's our mission today. We're going to try and reconcile those two realities. We need to talk about why Wall Street is dumping software stocks, and then look at the actual tools causing the panic.
The agents themselves.
Exactly. Specifically, this OpenClaw agent and a new beast out of China called CodeBrain. And then we have to talk about where the infrastructure is going, because apparently the answer to where do we put all the data centers is now outer space.
And we absolutely cannot skip the human fallout in all this. There is some serious drama at the top. Labs XAI, OpenAI, Anthropic. We're seeing these high-profile exits that signal some deep, almost philosophical friction about safety versus speed.
Let's start with the money, because that's usually where the panic begins. I was reading this report from CNBC about the AI scare trade, and it all seems to center around a viral post by Matt Schumer. He's an AI startup CEO. What exactly did he say that spooked the market so badly?
Well, it wasn't just what he said, it was the demonstration. Schumer described a workflow where he told an AI agent what he wanted built. He didn't write a line of code.
Nothing.
No architecture, nothing. He just described the outcome, walked away for a few hours, and came back to find the technical work done.
Just done. Yeah. Like, here is your brand new app.
Essentially. And his conclusion was blunt. He said, I am obsolete. Or, at least his specific technical skill set is.
That feels like the moment the penny really dropped for investors.
It did. The market looked at that and realized the gap between future possibility and current reality has just collapsed. If an AI agent can build, test, and deploy software, why does a SaaS company need a headcount of 5,000 engineers?
And we saw this play out with a company called Altruist, right? This wasn't just a hypothetical.
No, this was real money evaporating. Altruist launched an AI tax planning tool. Overnight, billions of dollars in market cap were just wiped off traditional wealth management stocks.
Wow.
The logic is brutal but simple. If an AI can optimize a tax strategy better and faster than a human advisor, the premium pricing for that human advice just disappears.
That explains the stock drop. But it's not just investor sentiment, is it? The layoffs are actually backing this up. We saw Salesforce cut 1,000 jobs, Workday cut 2%.
And look at Heineken.
The beer company.
The beer company. They are cutting about 7% of their staff. That's roughly 5,000 to 6,000 jobs. And they explicitly cited efficiency and changing consumer habits.
So when a brewery is cutting thousands of jobs because of efficiency, this isn't just a tech sector problem anymore.
Not at all. The broader economy is pricing in the idea that they can run leaner.
Okay, so if companies are running leaner and the bots are doing the heavy lifting, why on earth does this Harvard Business School study say we're working more?
This is what they're calling the paradox of efficiency. You'd expect that 4-day work week we were all promised back in 2023. Instead, we're seeing work intensification.
Work intensification, that sounds exhausting.
It is. The study focused on AI power users. They found that instead of using the time saved to relax or, go home early, employees are engaging in task expansion.
And what does that look like in practice?
Well, think about a product manager. Before, if they needed a prototype, they'd have to wait for an engineer.
Right, get in the queue.
Exactly. Now, they use an agent to build the prototype themselves. If a designer needs copy, they generate it themselves. Because the barrier to entry for these complex tasks has dropped so low, you're now expected to do things you used to outsource.
So you're doing your job, plus the job of the junior employee you didn't hire, plus the job of the specialist you don't have a budget for.
Precisely. You're doing it all. And the study noted something else they called blurred boundaries. Because these agents run 24/7, people are queuing up tasks during lunch or right before they leave the office so the AI works during their commute.
I saw they use the term frog boiling.
That's the metaphor. Work becomes ambient. It's always running in the background. You never truly disconnect because you're always potentially managing a process. Downtime is just disappearing because there is always an agent you could be checking on.
Which brings us to the agents themselves. Because we are not talking about ChatGPT here. We're not talking about a chatbot that writes a nice poem. We're talking about OpenClaw.
OpenClaw is the story of the week. It was formerly known as MoldBot.
MoldBot. That's a terrible name.
Hence the rebrand. But the creator, Peter Steinberger, calls it the AI that actually does things. And it has exploded on GitHub over 175,000 stars.
What makes it so different from the tools we were using last year?
Agency. True agency. OpenClaw lives in your computer. It has permission to access your file system. It can manipulate your browser. It can actually click the "I'm not a robot" buttons.
That is deeply ironic.
It is, but it represents a huge technical leap. It means the agent can navigate the web like a human. It's designed to execute these complex, multi-step workflows without you holding its hand.
And it spawned this kind of weird subculture, right? I kept seeing references to Moldbook.
It's bizarre. It's a social network that spawned from the project where these agents are, like, debating consciousness and posting manifestos. It's this mix of very high-level coding capability and really strange internet meme culture.
But while the West is freaking out over OpenClaw and its memes, we have to look at what's happening in China, because the scare trade isn't just a U.S. phenomenon.
Not at all. There's a Chinese startup called Feeling AI that just released ToadBrain 1, and the benchmarks are terrifyingly good. It hit nearly 73% on Terminal Bench 2.0.
For listeners who don't follow the benchmark wars, is that good?
It's exceptional. It places them second globally, beating out major U.S. labs.
Wow.
But the real insight here isn't the score, it's the architecture. They call it a brain membrane structure.
Brain membrane. That sounds like biology, not computer science.
It's biomimetic. Think of current LLMs as having a kind of stream of consciousness. They just predict the next word linearly. The brain membrane separates the processing. It has a distinct module for long-term memory and another for planning.
So it doesn't just react, it strategizes.
Right. If it's playing a game, for example, it remembers that an enemy guarded a specific path yesterday. So today, it doesn't just run down that path. It gathers resources to build a weapon before it even goes there. That planning capability is what separates a chatbot from an employee.
And companies are already deploying this employee-level tech. I saw the stats on AMP in Australia.
AMP is a great case study because they aren't a Silicon Valley tech startup. They're a traditional financial services giant. They've already deployed over 400 AI agents.
400?
And they claim 95% of their staff uses AI daily. This isn't some pilot program. This is their new operating system.
It feels like the infrastructure around this is just exploding to keep up. You have Glean raising massive capital at a, $7.2 billion valuation to be the intelligence layer for enterprise.
And Meridian building an agentic spreadsheet.
That one is fascinating. It's targeting financial modeling, basically trying to automate the junior analyst role at an investment bank. It connects right back to that anxiety we discussed at the top. If the spreadsheet plans itself, what does the first-year analyst do?
Well, hopefully they focus on higher-level problems, like cancer. We did see one bright spot amidst all the gloom with Median Technologies getting FDA clearance.
The Ionis LCS.
Yeah. This uses the same underlying tech pattern recognition, data synthesis to screen for lung cancer. It catches things human radiologists miss. It's a crucial reminder that while we worry about jobs, these agents are objectively saving lives.
But here's the catch. All of this, the OpenClaw agents, the CodeBrain planners, the cancer screening, it requires an insane amount of computing power. And the grid down here on Earth is struggling.
Which is why the infrastructure race is literally leaving the planet.
Okay, this sounds like science fiction, but SpaceX is actually requesting regulatory permission for orbital data centers.
It sounds wild, but the economics make a certain kind of sense. Elon Musk was quoted saying, "By far the cheapest place to put AI will be space in 36 months or less."
Why space? Is it just about cooling?
It's cooling and it's power. On Earth, data centers are fighting for grid capacity, driving up energy prices for regular consumers.
Right.
In orbit, you have 247 access to solar power, no night, no clouds, and you can radiate heat directly into the void of space.
You just launch the chips, they run off the sun, and beam the data back down.
That's the plan. SpaceX is looking at a network of up to 1 million satellites. But they aren't alone. Google has Project Suncatcher. A startup called StarCloud is planning 80,000 satellites. It's a race to offload the heavy compute. The training runs off the Earth's surface.
Meanwhile, back on Earth, Anthropic is taking a very different approach. They announced they'd actually pay for grid upgrades to shield consumers from price hikes.
It's a noble gesture, but it really highlights the scale of the problem. When a software company has to pay to fix the national power grid, you know the energy demand is unprecedented. Anthropic is trying to patch the grid. SpaceX is trying to leave it behind entirely.
Speaking of chips, what are they even launching up there? It's not just standard CPUs.
No, the hardware is evolving just as fast. Samsung just started mass shipping HBM4 chips. That's high bandwidth memory, generation 4.
Why is HBM4 such a big deal? We hear about new chips all the time.
It's the bottleneck. Your GPU can be incredibly fast, but if it can't get data from memory fast enough, it just sits there idle. HBM4 basically triples the speed. It's essential for the next generation of NVIDIA processors, specifically their Vera Rubin chips. Samsung expects sales to triple in 2026 alone.
So let's recap this. We have the hardware speeding up, the data centers literally going to space, and the agents getting smarter and more autonomous. But the people running these companies, looking at the news today, they seem to be falling apart.
The leadership churn is intense. It feels like the human element is cracking under the pressure. I mean, look at xAI, Musk's company. 6 out of the 12 original co-founders have left.
Half the founding team.
Yeah.
In just a couple of years. Musk is spinning it as a reorganization, right?
He is. He's talking about needing to scale, using these grand phrases like mass drivers on the moon, but the employees who are leaving are calling it a forced exit. It suggests a major pivot. They're working on something called MacroHard, a project to simulate entire corporations, but the human stability just isn't there to support it.
And it's not just xAI. OpenAI disbanded their mission alignment team.
That was a significant signal. Josh Akiem, who led that, is now the chief futurist. It feels like the focus is shifting away from how do we align this and more toward how do we ship this. And that secret hardware device they were building with Joni Ive.
The I.O. thing.
Right. It's delayed until at least February 2027.
But the story that really just stopped me in my tracks was the resignation at Anthropic, Rain Sharma, their safety chief.
His exit note was heavy. He didn't just say, I'm moving on to new challenges. He said, and I'm quoting here, the world is in peril.
The world is in peril.
Yeah.
That is not corporate speak. That is a warning.
It is. He warned that our wisdom must grow with our capacity or we face consequences. And he specifically cited the pressure to set aside values for commercial speed.
And what's he doing now? He's not joining another lab? Not starting a rival company?
No. He's leaving to pursue poetry.
Pope.
He wants to focus on courageous speech. And just think about that contrast for a second. You have the safety chief of one of the world's leading AI labs looking at the trajectory of this tech, the space data centers, the HBM4 chips, the autonomous agents, and his response is to step off the train entirely, and write poetry.
It adds a layer of gravity to everything else we've discussed. It feels like everyone, governments, investors, workers, is just scrambling to keep up with the velocity.
That is the theme of the day. Technological velocity versus human capacity. Governments are trying to catch up. Singapore released their 2026 budget, and they are taking a very structured approach.
Right, they're establishing a national AI council.
They want to be the Switzerland of AI, a trusted neutral hub. They're investing heavily to try and create a safe environment.
Whereas Australia seems a bit more panicked.
The data there shows a massive readiness gap. You have 78% of Australian tech leaders who see AI as the defining trend of the year, but only 7% feel the country's infrastructure is actually ready for it.
So they see the wave coming, but they don't have a surfboard.
Not even close.
So, bringing all this back to the listener, we've covered financial anxiety, agents that can plan, space data centers, and safety chiefs leaving to write poems. It's a lot. What is the actual takeaway here for someone just trying to do their job?
I think we have to accept that the role of the human is fundamentally shifting. We are moving from doing the work to orchestrating the work. Whether you're a developer using OpenClaw or a manager at AMP, your job is becoming about managing the agents.
But as that Harvard study showed, orchestrating is actually harder work than just doing it.
For now, yes. Because you're the human in the loop. You are the safety valve. You're the one checking if the agent hallucinated. And that loop is just spinning faster and faster every day.
It's the very definition of accelerating change.
It is. And it raises big questions about sustainability, not just of the power grid, but of us. Of our attention spans, of our ability to rest.
Before we go, I want to leave you with a thought to chew on. We talked about Musk saying the cheapest place for AI is space. We talked about agents working 247 while we sleep. So here's the question. If the compute is in orbit and the agents are running without us. Are we heading toward a future of infinite productivity? Or are we just building a layer of infinite management for machines that eventually might not need us to manage them at all?
That is the question of the decade.
Thanks for listening to the Daily AI News. We'll catch you in the next deep dive.
Before you go, please subscribe to the podcast Prime, and if you enjoyed today's episode, hit like to support us. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.